Well, hello there and welcome back to the Common Farm Flowers channel. Well, it's 6 in the morning in the middle of a heat wave and I'm going off on a 10-mile training walk because I'm training to do a Macmillan sponsored walk in September. That's my house behind me. My friend Michele and my friend Ailsa and I are going to do a sponsored walk. It's the length of a marathon, so it's 26 miles in one day, and we decided September in Northumberland because we thought it would be a bit cooler in September, and apparently it's not as hilly as the Jurassic Coast one, which is just down the road from us and is very hilly. So anyway, I'm training for this walk, and of course it's July and it's the time of year where people go on holiday. So Michele, Ailsa and I, having been walking together since January, lots of really fantastic walks, suddenly our schedule kind of gets out of sync, so I'm walking on my own. So I thought I'd bring you along because I love going for a walk in the morning, and you're going to see some amazing countryside that we have around us in Somerset and West Wiltshire. Yes, I'm crossing county lines, but also I'm hoping that some of you will sponsor me on my walk. So I'll put the link for sponsorship in the blurb to this clip. Normally my clips are all about flower farming and growing flowers for a living, but you've got to mix it up a little bit. So let's do sponsored walking as well. Right, off we go. This is the field next to where we live. This is where I walk my dog most days. Only we just get to the end of this path and then we go along the line of trees and then back down the other side of it and back. So now we're going to do 10 miles instead. That's probably not even a mile. But she's a little old lady, my dog. She's 12 and she doesn't want to go too far. We have to go through holes in the hedges. So the reason I do 10 miles is it's a time thing. The actual walk we do is, here comes the sun. Woo! The actual walk we do will be 26 miles. But the problem with training for something like that is the time. I can't do 26 miles all the time, but I'm very concerned that I shouldn't let my friends down by being the least fit. And I am the shortest. This is a good old English style. I'm the shortest and I have the shortest legs. It's going to be a boom year for blackberries if we get any rain. So I'm the shortest and I have the shortest legs. So I have to beetle along. It's lovely country. Not my fields, but grateful to the neighbours who keep it so immaculate for us all to enjoy. Yes, so I have to keep beetling along so that I won't let my colleagues down when we do the walking. So while we're all on they're on holiday and our time schedules have got kind of busy. Look at the mist. I decided that I would do 3 10-mile walks a week to keep me fit for a 26-mile walk in September. I've stopped so I can show you. Do you see? I'll point my finger there. That is King Alfred's Tower. A little pointy, it looks like a little church on the horizon. Actually, it's a tall tower. And that's it's maybe 2/3 of the way through the walk. So I'm going up, whoops. Yeah, okay, I'm going up into up round Stourhead house, and then I'm coming back down here, and it makes about 10 miles. And I haven't got heavy walking boots. I've just got these nice, they're like really sort of reinforced walking shoes. And the brand is, they've got an M on them. I don't know what the brand is. And then ordinary socks. And then I tuck my jeans into my socks because there are a lot of deer in this woods, and so there are ticks. And I don't want to get a tick digging its way into me. And that's why I also wear this top, although it's really already it's warm enough not to wear anything, but this canvas top, it's also slight protection against the ticks, because at some point I had to brush through bracken and long grasses in the woods where the deer are also, and if I can avoid picking up a tick, I will, because they're so boring to have to get out, and I don't want to get Lyme's disease. But yeah, this is a brilliant bit of kit, this canvas top. We call it a slop in my family. I don't know what you call it in yours, but it just goes over your head. And the other thing I like about it is it's got good pockets. So later on, when I'm hungry, I can have my bag of dried fruit and nuts in my pocket and nibble away as I walk along. And I've just got a very small rucksack. I can't... just so I can carry a bottle of water and my nuts. And also, because I'm an old lady and I have a slightly annoying tendency to sciatic issues with my right leg. So I also have a couple of Nurofen in there, ibuprofen, which if I feel the need, when I'm about halfway round, I'll take a couple of ibuprofen with my breakfast of dried fruit and nuts, and that'll just stop I get stiff, weirdly, before the end of the walk. So avoiding being stiff before the end of the walk means I get through at relative speed. So I'm going up the path here to the forest, and the woods you can see ahead are the Stourhead woods. They're part of the Stourhead Park. If you look up Stourhead in Wiltshire, it'll tell you all about the Hall family who built it, and Capability Brown who made the landscape. But this part of woodland, this is what remains of one of the oldest forests in the British Isles. The Selwood Forest, which is this, is as old as the end of the last ice age. Yeah, I know, it's good, isn't it? Lots of wildflowers, even on this mown path. And in the British Isles, you can get maps which tell you where the footpaths are, and they are public right of way where everybody, very important to shut the gate always behind one. And you can get Ordnance Survey maps will show you where the footpaths are. And so I'm going up into this ancient forest. So I figured if I did 10 miles 3 times a week, then when it comes to doing 26 miles in one go in September, I would not find it too grueling. I can't do 26 miles in one go in a week because I have a job. And I can't even do it I can't spread it through the week too evenly because I'm a flower farmer. And so Thursday, Fridays are my harvesting days and I'm flat out. And at weekends, I try and be a bit more available to my family. Although this weekend I am doing a job on Sunday. Actually, I'm working all weekend, but usually I don't. So, and also this weekend it's a forecast, a real heat wave. So long as I have any flowers left and they're not burnt to a crisp by the sun, I will be harvesting tomorrow, Friday and Saturday morning for DIY wedding flowers, people who've ordered DIY buckets for flower festivals, all sorts. And I've got thank you bouquets, I've got an order, quite a lot, something like 9 thank you bouquets to cut and make, and then this event on Sunday, which I expect I'll film. So this week's 3 times 10 miles was on Saturday in the pouring rain, and then yesterday, Tuesday, it was very beautiful and inspired me to film today. And then today, Wednesday, and then I'll sort of have to look at the calendar for next week and see which days work best. Would you look at this? Look, it's the smaller trunk on the right is an ivy and it's hugging this oak tree and going all the way up. But if you look at it closely, you can see the ivy leaves, and then when you get to the top, it's an oak hugging. True love, symbiosis between the trees. It's lovely here. Sometimes the path opens out and you get an idea of where you are. Look how misty. It's going to be 30 something degrees today, but it's relatively cool and nice now at about 6:30 in the morning. All sorts of things to see as we walk along. Look, someone's made a little house for someone in the sandy side of the path. We used to bring our children here when they were little too, and and they still come up here with their friends without us because we're boring. And as I come down a hill, having marched up one, look, I'm all steamed up. Yes, it's nice and warm work at this time of the day. This is my favourite bit of the walk, this meadow. It's just so beautiful. I know I can hear some of you going, but why do you do the same walk all the time? And the awful truth is, when the three of us walk together, we plan and we make a walk where we might drive a little way and then walk back. The other day we walked from Castlecarry to Sherborne. That was a great walk, all across the fields. That's where I saw the black-winged, beautiful demoiselle damselflies, which was so beautiful. But the reason I do this on repeat is it's easy and quick. It's very beautiful, as you can see, but I don't have to bring a map because I know the way, and I can be fairly marching about it. So while it's important to stop and gasp at the beauty of it all, I can also be quite quick because I've got to get back and get to work. Those bookkeeping queries, they won't just disappear if I pay no attention. This whole walking thing started because I went to see my friend Alice Armstrong, who's a personal development coach, and which I shouldn't say in this odd voice, but anyway, that's what she is. And we talked about work and life and balance and all of that stuff. And I realised that after nearly 15 years of growing flowers for sale, I was kind of a bit stuck. I had achieved my objectives, which was to make a flower farm and be able to make a living doing it. And so I needed to push myself a bit. I realised I was a bit bored. And so Alice helped me kind of identify a few things that I would like to do to keep myself really interested. I realised I'd stopped learning, or stopped actively learning. I mean, you learn anyway, but I needed to be actively pushing myself a little bit. And she said, well, you need somebody to keep you at it. I don't know what you call it. It's some kind of partner, not a motivation partner, but a person who you can say, this is what I want to do. And then you meet up with them a few weeks later and say whether you've done it or not. And they kind of keep you at it. Anyway, I thought, who could I ask to do that? Because obviously one's family is lovely, but sometimes you need a kind of outside view. Anyway, I chose my friend Michele. Hold on, I've got to tell you this. So this may not look like much, but this is head-hiked bracken. And this is why I wear my slop here, because then I can protect myself from the ticks on the bracken by walking along with my arms in the air to stop the ticks falling off onto my head. And also it's 6 o'clock in the morning, so the dew is very heavy and it's a bit wet. So if I was walking along in short sleeve t-shirt, I'd be a bit wet, whereas this protects me a bit from the wet. Accountability partner, that's what it is. So anyway, I rang up my friend Michele and said, would you be my accountability partner? And I didn't want to go out for a drink because we'd end up kind of gossiping and chatting and doing the things you do when you go out for a drink. So I said, do you fancy going for a walk? And that is how this walking all started. So it was late September 2023, Michele and I went for our first walk together. Back into the woods. Anyway, so Michele and I started meeting once or twice a month and just going for a nice yomp around the woods, often these very woods here, because we live nearby and they're public footpaths and they're well maintained and it's a really nice place to walk. And we talked about work and we talked about our careers and we talked about what we wanted and we talked about books we were reading and what we were doing to make our lives more interesting. Because there comes a point, if you're good at what you do and you've done it for a while, that you kind of plateau a bit. So, and if you work for yourself, she works for herself and I work for myself, it's up to you to kind of kick yourself up the you-know-where a bit and keep it interesting. So that's what we did for a year and a half. And then, and this is why Michele is such a great accountability partner, and then one day we were both at a party given by our other friend Jess, and we were talking about how we'd been walking, and somebody said, well, Nikki Mendoza of Rose and Lions, where I go for yellow wellies and good earrings when I need them, said that she and Alan were doing the Macmillan walk to raise money for charity. And it was a day's walk, 26 miles, all in one go, and you raised money for Macmillan Cancer. And so Michele obviously went, well, that's a good idea. Let's upgrade our walks a bit. Why don't we do that? And another friend who was at the party, Ailsa, said, oh, I've done the Southwest Coast Path. And they did it in chunks as a family over many years. And so Michele quite wisely said, well, somebody who's done quite a lot of walking and knows what we need to do, I think we should get her on side. So now there are 3 of us signed up to do this Macmillan walk in September, and it's 26 miles in one day. And normally it would be the 3 of us doing this walk, but actually, of course it's the summer, so people have got to take their summer breaks. And I'm quite enjoying my 10 miles marching around, having a think and talking to you guys. Yes, I know, I talk. Whatever happens, even if there's nobody there, I'll make somebody be there, like you. And so here we are doing this. Here we are planning this big walk, and it's keeping me fit, keeping me healthy. Very smart style. Thank you. We're not. You can tell we're on the Stourhead estate. The styles have got posher. This is. I don't know if you have these elsewhere in the world, but these are called stiles, and it's where you have a thing so you can climb over a fence. Yeah. So here we are, and Michele has raised our game, and we're already talking about doing a walk to Santiago de Compostela for next year. I mean, if we've done all this training and got relatively fit, may as well carry on, no? And I guess the thing is, flower farming is a great job. I'm very, very lucky that I've been able to turn the fields around Common Farm into a flower farm and be able to make a modest living at it. But you can't just always do the same thing. You need to change it up a bit. And my children are growing older, leaving home, finishing school. I've got to give myself interesting stuff to do. And I love going for a walk. And weirdly, while the children were little, this kind of walking, they were too little for a lot of it. And then they kind of got too big and didn't want to walk. So they love a walk, but they want to do 10 tours, or Gold Duke of Edinburgh, not go for a walk with their boring old mum. So I'm really glad that I've managed to pick up the walking again, and it's a change of perspective, a change of pace. I love it. I love the fact that you put one foot in front of the other and you feel like you're making progress all the time. Hello, sheep. It's looking a bit more parkland because we are almost coming down to where the house is. Stourhead House, the great Palladian mansion of the Hall banking family. And the sun's properly up. The mist has burned away. It's almost time to stop for breakfast. I love this. There are lots of ways you can take exercise. This is free, and you can do it at any time of the day or night to suit you. It costs nothing other than a stout pair of shoes to walk in. Excellent. You see, beginning to feel a bit parky. Water, tall specimen trees. Stourhead proper. Now we're sort of heading into Stourhead proper. That's the stone bridge that you walk over if you're going up to the Temple of Apollo, which is part of the grounds and where quite often I'm asked to supply wedding flowers. I'll show you in a minute. We'll come around the corner. There. It's a beautiful place to have a wedding. And you get an incredible view over the lake from up there, which I can't see because I'm at road level. But it's a really, if ever you wanted to have, I think you can fit only something like 15 people inside the temple. But if you trust the weather, you can have more outside. And this amazing view, and then have your reception by the lake or in Stourhead Village Hall nearby, which is a lovely spot for a wedding. I did one the other day. And there we are, we come around the corner and there's the famous Stourhead view with the cross and the lake and the bridge and the larger temple. And me, hello, and the model village. And the lovely old church. I'm going to sit down and have a drink of water and some nuts. So it's 10 to 8. I set off at 6. I've done about 8 kilometres. And no, 7 kilometres. And there's a convenient spot for sitting down and having a drink of water. There's also a loo, which is open at this time of the morning. Hooray! This is the old Spread Eagle pub, having its delivery of food from Fine Food. Fine Food deliver, all the catering companies around here get deliveries from Fine Food. Anyway, there's a lovely old pub, and that's the village hall along here. It's a memorial hall from the First and Second World Wars, where you can have your wedding reception if you like. It's a lovely place. If you got married at the Temple of Apollo and then had your wedding reception there, I highly recommend it. It's a beautiful place. But look, loos, and I can sit down, have a glass of water. It gets really busy later on, but it's a lovely place to stop at 8 o'clock in the morning for a glass of, for a little drink. And a handful of nuts and raisins. I think this is about as far as I get from Common Farm. There's the entrance to the grand old house. Stourhead House. I don't want to live in Stourhead House itself. I do quite fancy the gatehouse. Is cute, isn't it? I could do that. That would suit me down to the ground. That's the way to the walled garden. Here are the old stables. And this is the drive. This is all public footpath, so I don't have to pay to get in. The main house and grounds are not open, obviously. I think they open at 9 and it's still 8 o'clock, so you can hear the traffic a bit. People arriving from work. But the footpath, this is ancient right of way to be protected at all costs. So even when they built the house, I imagine people could walk along and walk past it like we're going to do ourselves. Here it comes. Palladian Mansion. Palladian Mansion incoming. It's enormous. Actually, it's not that enormous. You know, I have seen more enormous houses. There are lots of houses rather bigger than this. This is, as Palladian mansions go, quite cosy cottage style. And it faces east. Well, the front door faces east, but the view from the back over the lakes would be amazing. I once did a dinner party, the Flowers for dinner, for Audrey Hall. The family still have apartments and things in the house. And she said that when the family gave the house to the National Trust, her mother was deeply relieved because Audrey was one of lots of siblings and they would scamper around the house like children do, and the furniture's all Chippendale and incredibly valuable, and so her poor mum used to worry that they'd break the furniture. I really should stop. I should really stop at one of these benches and have my breakfast next time. I think, yeah, look, the house opens between 11 and 4:30. But let's have a look as we're passing. Let's pretend this is our house for a minute. And we come out of the front door in the morning, and that's our view. I've seen worse. That would there, that's better. Oh, someone's behind me, I think. There you have it. That's quite a front porch. An amazing east-facing view. It looks very tightly mown, but I saw them take the hay off here last week, so it's it looks as though it's like a mown lawn, but it's not. That was a hay meadow until last week, and now the hay's been taken to feed the animals in the winter, and we carry on through this gate, and now we're kind of on the way home. Kind of. So this part of the walk is just quite long and quite boring. We've had some lovely views. We've had the early morning sun on the long grass. We've had the exciting bit. And now we're sort of enclosed by trees, but walking along wide paths for miles. But eventually we will come to something I showed you right at the beginning. So I'm going to put you in my back pocket and just march on as quickly as I can, get some speed on. Now I've had some banana chips and raisins and a couple of Brazil nuts to give me energy, and I'm going to march on, and we'll meet again when we come to the next exciting building. Snack time. Look, another cute little gatehouse. Oh yes, please. That would suit me down to the ground. Now there are cows in this field, and before walking through the field I made sure, one, I didn't have a dog with me. If I had had a dog I would have gone the other way, and I walked round the edge of them, and I'm walking really slowly. If I were really afraid of them I wouldn't come this way, because they would know and be curious. Cows are very curious animals. And if I thought they had calves with them, I checked. And they look like young lady cows. And so I walked very carefully round them, and they're sort of following me, but not I'm walking quite slowly, and I'm not afraid of them. But I wouldn't be here if I had a dog with me. I would definitely have gone the other way. So just be careful. If you're walking in the English countryside and there's any kind of livestock, if you have a dog, you must have it on a lead. You must make sure that if you go through a gate, you make sure you close it behind you. And if there are cattle, just be very wary. As my friend Michele says, I don't want to be that one on the front of the local paper, killed by a mob of cows. And my father, Nigel, was nearly killed by a cow when he got between her and her calf, and he had his dog with him. And it was the very early days of his having dementia, and he forgot that if you have a dog with you and there are cows, suddenly you come around a corner, because you'd be surprised, you can literally come around a corner and there they are, the other side of a brow of a hill. And he forgot that if you suddenly find yourself with cows and you have a dog, take the dog off, let the dog go, because the cows are mostly interested in the dog. Anyway, they've kind of got bored with me now. But really, it is important with cows to be very careful. These days they spend much less time with people because so much of the farming is automated. And so they can be really skittish. These are Stourhead cows. So Michele and I and Ailsa reckon that they've been through special school, which makes them still curious about people. Like, they did follow me for 100 yards, but not so likely to shove you through a wall like they did with my old dad, who's still got a hole in the top of his head where the shape of a cow's hoof. And he grew up in the village where this happened, so he should have known better. Anyway, on we go. And I'm sorry if there's some of this country stuff about opening and shutting gates, being careful, and how to watch out for cows. Yes, look, there's another. That's the head of the Stour. This is, I think it's called Six Wells Bottom or something, this valley. And that is where the River Stour, this is why it's called Stourhead. And that's where the River Stour comes from. That's the top of the well. So I'm sorry if you know all this country law. A lot of you will. But there might be somebody who has lived all their lives in, I don't know, downtown LA and not know about gates and cows and things, and might be here for that. So, you know, we got to talk to everybody. And then you're just bumbling along, thinking, oh, when will this endless gap between the trees end? Where can I turn left and head home? And then suddenly, look at that. That's King Alfred's Tower. And do you remember if you're still with me, right at the beginning of this clip, I pointed up at the top of the ridge on top of the hill and said that we'd see King Alfred's Tower. Well, there it is. It's very tall. It's quite a long way from here. There's my finger. It's miles away finger for scale. No, it's not miles away, but anyway, it's always a relief when you come around the corner and there's King Alfred's Tower, because it means we're very nearly on the home straight. So farewell Alfie's Tower, back into the woods. It's nice, it's hot now, it's properly hot, and so this will be nice and cool to be back in the woods. And now it's not downhill all the way, but it feels as though it's downhill all the way to home. And we're about 2/3 of the way. So I've done about 11 kilometres. By the time I get home, it'll be about 16, which is about 10 miles. About, maybe a tiny bit less. Anyway, enough. But it's a great walk. And it's 9 o'clock now, so I set off at about 6. So it takes me an hour to do about 5 kilometres. And yeah, so I will have... No, it doesn't. It takes more than an hour to do 5 kilometres. Anyway, it'll be 4 hours. So I set off at 6, get home at 10, and get on with my day. And lucky me, I work for myself. So if I want to start a bit late, a couple of days a week, because I'm going for a training walk in order to raise money for Macmillan Cancer, then aren't I the lucky one? And if you'd like to sponsor me, I'll put the link for my Just Giving page in the blurb. I know, I'm always asking for money. Anyway, this time it's raising money for charity. Right, we've got an hour to go. It's cool and beautiful in the woods. It helps if you know which path to take. I still get it wrong sometimes and find myself thinking, not sure this is quite right, and then have to battle through the undergrowth to get back into the right direction. Is it that way or that way? If you're at all uncertain about directions, bring a map, because I know you can get a map on your phone, but in rural Somerset / Wiltshire, I think I'm still in Wiltshire actually, I'll be back in Somerset in a minute, but round where we are, there is often very little mobile phone coverage. So if you're trying to see where you are on your phone, won't necessarily work. So bring a paper map, if you're walking somewhere and you don't know the way. Otherwise you really do risk getting very lost. So beautiful. Now the sun's up in a different way than it was a few hours ago when I walked up here. And then here we are, coming to the edge of the woods, and that first gate I walked through 3.5 hours ago. Farewell woods, until the next time. So if you'd like to sponsor my walk, I'd be very grateful. I'll put the link for sponsorship. It's a Just Giving page linking to the Macmillan walk in September. I'd be very grateful. I have two friends currently quite poorly with cancer, and so if I can do a little something to contribute to their recovery, then that's a great thing, and I'll be fitter for it. Hooray. And I hope you've enjoyed this lovely walk. We're back in Somerset now, through the Somerset and Wiltshire countryside while I train. I'm going to go home and have a quick dip, wash off the salt, and get on with my working day. Thanks for coming along, and I hope to see you soon. Bye. And it's 10:10, and I'm coming back up the path home. There's home. There. I've been slow. Too much talking to you guys. So there you go, that's a quick 10-mile squiz through Somerset, this is Somerset, and Wiltshire, that was Wiltshire, training for my sponsored walk in September. I hope you've enjoyed the journey, and I hope you'll sponsor me. Thanks very much for coming along. Bye-bye.